Hello and welcome to the 24th installment of the ExtremeHW Podcast. As usual, we have our select round of people. We have Frick Frock with us straight from the horse virus recovery zone. How are you doing, Frick Frock?
You know,
How was
my
the horse
state
flu?
is like, I think the second or third most infected in the U.S.
With horse
in
flu?
Illinois.
Yeah.
A horse flu is it's a wonderful thing. You know, shotguns at the ready, bum legs abound. It's a real exciting time.
God, yes. I wish I had horse flu.
Speaking of Chris wanting to have horse flu, hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, we can't say. Okay, we can't say that word because of the algorithms. Yeah. Well, I'm drinking some podcast juice, by which I mean straight bourbon, and
That would also get us flagged, but hey, you know what? Who cares?
yeah, honestly, I don't know how am I doing. I possibly got the horse flu and then recovered from the horse flu, but I'm not entirely sure. I really hope that I got it because I just want the immunity, and then I can go out and fight the National Guard in 2 weeks once they get deployed.
No, it's funny because the resident NEET of this podcast actually wants to go outside now.
See, the difference is, before the pandemic, I had a choice to stay in the basement, and I made that choice. But now I don't have a choice, and I have to stay in the basement. And don't tread on me, government.
And you can
Moving
always get one of
swiftly
those.
on.
What are those things that people do in like when they have sensory deprivation or like seasonal affective disorder? They just get like a giant TV.
They get a
and
light.
project- No,
It's
they do that, but then
sunlight.
they get a giant TV and they just project like they make it seem like a window. So they're on the TV. They have like sunshine and like a
The
nice
Windows
field.
XP background.
Yeah, and then they have like a lamp pointed at them, and that's how they don't go
See-
crazy or something.
See, Frick, I don't know how effective that would be given that he's surrounded by concrete walls. So now he has a random window.
I think that would help.
You can try. Anyway, we also have Simmons with us. The world's
Hi.
longest intro. Hello, Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons drives a Miata.
What?
No. Anyway,
No,
It's because of
I
the
do not
pop-up
drive-
headlights.
I drive a Civic. That's a Corolla.
Yeah. Oh, damn, you're right.
yeah. Anyway,
Know anything about cars, bro? Why don't you learn?
Yeah. Shut up, Frick. You thought. Never mind.
No, we're not.
Go
gonna-
watch this special episode that Alex probably uploaded a couple weeks ago.
did.
That's a callback to whatever that was.
Oh,
it was like
you know
21,
what?
I think.
Real quick before you get into it, have you guys seen what's happening with like some of the social media stuff right now with this horse flu challenge that people are doing?
Excuse
no,
me,
that's
what?
disgusting. Yeah, they're
Oh
making
my
toilet
God, dude,
seats.
the
Oh,
horse
wait,
flu
wait,
challenge video.
Frick, hold that thought. We do need to talk about a couple things real quick.
Yes, first and foremost, there's the in-win giveaway still going on at Extreme Hardware. They're giving away an awesome power supply this month. Make sure you enter. It's really easy to do so. Anyone can enter, and there will be a link as well. Go ahead and do it. Win yourself an awesome power supply. And yeah, that ends, I think, the end of this month because they're every month.
Mhm.
And Simmons is about to preach to us the good Bible of folding.
Oh, geez. All right. So
Have you expected protein folding as your Lord and Savior?
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, I'm going to punt you.
Please do, Dad.
Okay,
Stop.
so the quick TLDR, ExtremeHardware.net is now has their own folding at home team. Folding at home has been really big in the news, especially in the tech space lately, because Stanford has been publishing work units directly related to the horse flu. Basically, you are donating your GPU or your CPU resources to help Stanford simulate protein folding in a distributed compute manner. The team number is now 239902. It takes all of like 5 minutes to get it set up. Go fold for Extreme Hardware.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's actually easy to set up a folding system these days. I switched my server over from Linux to Windows, and I had to get folding set up again when I did that. Couple clicks on an installer, punch in a couple like text boxes for a username and a pass key, and I was good to go. He is correct. It does take about 5 minutes to set up.
Yep.
So it's pretty painless.
Just a quick note with that, if you do decide to get into folding, in order to maximize your point gain for an account.
Min max. Sorry.
Yes, 100%. You need to configure a username and passkey through the Stanford site. That takes all of a minute to do. The Stanford servers are a little bit backed up right now because of the sheer number of people who are now folding. I think the stats was averaged 30,000 concurrent folders over the past 3 years, and now it's up to 400,000.
Wow, that's a lot more. It's also worth noting that you might not be getting work units consistently. There was about a week stretch last week where I was hardly getting any.
And that's just due to the real quick thing on that is turns out it's not really Stanford servers that are saturated. It's their ISP connection that's saturated right now.
Oh, wow.
So they're working with a couple content providers who can potentially set up servers to request work units from. I think LTT, they're going to be setting up a work unit server within the next week. So that's pretty neat.
That's good for them.
Probably hit Google. Google probably love the PR right now.
I really appreciate Linus. Linus is a cool guy.
Yes. Get folding. Get a username passkey. It doesn't take a whole long to set up. And another cool thing is you can actually set it to only run when you're not when your system detects it itself as idle. So if you're so it'll basically just turn itself on in the background if you're not doing anything on your computer.
Yeah, actually, a couple days ago, I think Folding at Home was heavily involved in this. The 3D structure of the horseflu's main protease has been mapped. Proteases are enzymes. They're used for like assembling viruses. So if you're trying to make an antiviral drug, then that's a good thing to try to target. So you can like inhibit the protease. You like have some chemical that locks into it, and suddenly it can't do its job and make more viruses. So that's been mapped. That's pretty new, but so far it's good signs. Like research and development has been progressing very quickly. So
let's help the horse flu, or rather,
do science, do citizen science. You can do it.
And now we have a special segment on this week's episode.
So yes, to introduce this, basically we thought that Chris, our most valued member, needed a reward for his efforts here. So
I'm terrified.
Don't open it yet. He's holding it in front of us now. He got a special something.
Because I didn't know about this.
No, trust me, Frick, you're gonna love this. We got him a special something, and he's
Frick,
busy opening it.
Frick, are you watching the video?
I'm watching the video. Yes.
Yeah. So
describe to us.
No. Hang on. I'm just going to start with some backstory. I sent Alex while he was in South Africa, so this was several years ago now. I mailed him a keyboard, and I put my return address on that package. And I should not have done that.
No. The process was I mailed Cynical the keyboard, and then Cynical mailed that to Alex in the most ridiculous way.
No, you got a nice lady who got laid off and or fired to send me the keyboard.
The nice lady sent me the keyboard, and then I sent that to you, and then you sent that to Alex.
So you could have potentially had Frick's address, and you totally missed out.
Well, no, because that's not what they're returning. Whatever. I've had podcast juice. I'm not thinking straight. It's whatever. Okay. So I'm not going to look inside here. If I just blindly reach in here, am I going to step on something?
No.
It's fine.
Would you like uranium or something?
Describe what you're feeling.
What are you feeling?
It feels conical. Maybe
conical. That's an adjective no one's ever used.
I was told that it's not a dildo, so I haven't seen it yet. Let's see.
If that's a Tenga egg. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. Well, I wasn't too off.
What did you get?
Use the same one as Tenga egg.
Chris,
practice fate nail art trading display. What? What in the fuck did you? Why in the fuck did you get me this?
Please don't swear more.
Cynical, did you confess some sort of like love for Sonic the Hedgehog on the last episode or something?
I'm so confused, but I guess this is what you meant by PG-13.
You need to move your podcast juice out of the way. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to move my train as well.
Is there a hole in the foot? Can you? Or is it
no, I cannot use the foot for that purpose.
Okay, it's a solid foot. Oh my god! How much was this foot?
It's like $7.
Oh my god!
It looks a lot better than the preview on the product page.
Okay, this is like hard plastic. Can I take it off and put things inside the foot?
Probably,
Yes.
yeah.
It's a hollow foot.
All right. This is. Hey, hang on. Screenshot this right now if you're going to. If we're gonna add it to the thumbnail.
Yeah, I've got it.
God.
All right, cool. We got a screenshot. Then don't screenshot this, or rather, don't use it for the thumbnail.
God. Oh god. Oh no. Oh, that thing came straight from China, man. You gotta clean that thing. You can't just start sticking it in your mouth.
Yeah, this is how I'm gonna get the horse flu for real.
Just got,
From
you just
putting
got super horse flu. You get
Actually, I mean, I guess blur out my face a bit, and I guess we can do that. Just make me look like.
I mean, I can just do one of my
I don't know.
lovely edits for you.
It'll look worse if you blur it out, because then it looks like something really bad's happening.
No. Don't blur out the foot. Blur out my face. It's different. Wow. Thanks, guys. I hate it.
Actually, you know what? Blur out the foot.
Okay.
Definitely blur out the foot.
You know the best part about this though? I can start just like using this in pictures that I take for Twitter.
Yes.
Because you know how I like just include my actual foot in there because it's funny?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel like that foot has like perfectly manicured nails, which I don't know how I feel about it.
So, Chris, do you like your present?
I don't know.
I'll take that as a yes. Anyway, that was our foot segment.
No.
Is this just a regular thing now?
Please no.
This is here's what's going to happen. You guys, we have to make it a segment where we send Cynical some random thing every single week and have him open it on stream.
Oh God.
That's the game.
The problem is it costs money to do that.
Yeah, it
No.
does.
Wait, it's
Send
like
me
$10.
things. I'm poor.
This
No,
foot
I'm
costs
poor.
$7 to ship, right? So between the both of us, we all chip in $3. We send him some sort of tat. He opens it. We get lulls.
Right.
All right. Anyway.
Do you want to
so
move
hang
on to something?
So real quick
Yes.
about this great little challenge that I came across,
Mhm.
and you know there's different varieties of it. It depends on what part of the country you're in, but right
Mhm.
now, if you look at what's going on in Washington and Virginia,
Wait, which Washington? The state or the capital?
the state of Washington,
Oh, okay. Just so we're clear.
and in Virginia, I'd say near everywhere, all over Virginia, right? This is a direct quote from the article. Out of control teenagers coughing on grocery store produce. It's from the Washington Examiner.
Cool. So this is just going to be like the knockout game where it's this thing that maybe 3 people did, but now it becomes like this big national news story because boomers are idiots and want to get angry.
It is trending, my G. Okay, here's
I doubt it.
Idle teenagers are participating in a disturbing trend of coughing on grocery store produce and posting their pranks online as the nation fights the horse flu, which is known to spread from human droplets. An incident occurring at a local grocery store involving juveniles reportedly coughing on produce while filming themselves and posting it said that punk teenagers are hitting the grocery stores harder than ever before.
Yeah.
This is the trend. And I think what's really interesting about this is that, first of all, just cough. Remember a while ago when there was that trend of people like opening up ice cream containers and licking them and putting them back in.
Oh
No, I don't remember that, and I don't want to know.
Don't you remember that? That was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing.
Okay, so how big is this
It's the
foot?
same kids. I think it's like the same 3 group of kids that just keep doing this stuff.
Chris,
This is a really small foot. Like, this is a child-sized foot.
Oh God!
Can I send that other places because I believe your
Andrew,
face out.
no.
Andrew, that's a terrible blur. You've also given him an extra chin.
That was unintentional.
Yes, no, it wasn't. That's a lie. You did that on purpose.
That's amazing. Were you just using the blur feature in Windows Photo Editor?
No, I used the clone stamp in Photoshop and just spammed it, and it accidentally gave him an extra chin.
What, Andrew, did you put chins on my eyes to censor them?
Yes.
I'm not effectively in Japan.
Why? Okay. Frick, you were saying something slightly important, but Chris's foot got in the way.
I don't know about important. But yes, I know it's the same because it always starts off the same way, right? Every time there's some sort of pandemic or some sort of horrible health crisis, it's these moments in time where some group of punk teenagers go around to grocery stores and just start licking things.
Hey, we got to do it for the clickbait, man.
Tonight,
Chris, are you okay with that one?
He just has an ear for a face at this point.
Hold on, I gotta go get my laptop so I can make my edit.
That works because my mouth is still good and it looks like I have cool sideburns now. Yeah, we can use that.
Not use a Gaussian blur on the foot yet. That's the easiest thing.
Frick, shut up.
Gotta use. It's too late now.
No, like that. That's a good picture. I like that. That is an acceptable picture to post.
Why don't you describe to the listeners what you see?
No.
What? No, you're supposed to do that, Chris.
Well, wait, are we not going to use this picture in the thumbnail?
No, this is like an audio.
Yeah, we'll use that one instead.
No.
Hold on, I got my laptop. I'm gonna make my own version now.
Simmons!
Oh god, that was a thunderous one. The whole basement shook from that one.
All right, so do we want to talk about a topic while I work on this?
I'm almost out of podcast juice and I need more of it.
That's a dude. I don't know if we mentioned it, but that's a very tall glass of podcast juice. I think that's like 3 servings of podcast juice.
Okay, so first of all, I only filled it up like a third of the way, so it's fine.
Put any ice in it?
Yeah, I put a few cubes.
Okay.
Don't censor the foot. That makes it worse.
God. Oh, it's even more horrible.
Uncensored foot, censored face. Come on.
Okay, I'll do that.
What about doing it the other way around?
Yes, censored but uncensored face.
No, shut up. Stop this.
We're just doing
Too
more
late.
cyberbullying.
You knew the consequences when you put it in your mouth.
This is a tech podcast.
What?
Yeah, this is ostensibly a tech podcast. Welcome to Extreme Hardware, your source for news about feet.
I hate it.
Oh no! Oh god! It's what makes it the second one even worse is that there's like a slight curve to that toe, which just
Yeah.
the angle of it.
My goodness.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Good content in the pins.
Somebody ping doggo enthusiasts.
No.
So we move on to something actually tech related.
Yes.
Feet are high tech.
Stop, Chris. I can tell you're excited, but stop. So, Nokia, you know, the people that make, they made great dumb phones and they have kind of struggled in the smartphone market. They're debuting their first 5G smartphone, which is logically called the Nokia 8.3 5G.
8.3 is how many cameras it has, probably.
You're not far off.
You remember Nokia phone names.
So it has 4 rear cameras, and 1 front camera.
How many rear cameras?
4, which is above 3 and below 5.
Wow.
No way.
That's cool. There's infinitely many numbers like that.
Yes.
Well, okay. Anyway, they.
It's okay. I know that you meant 4 because integers are quantized. Wait, no, cameras are quantized. I don't know. Whatever. Go on. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but go on.
Okay. Basically, it is kind of, if I'm honest, it kind of looks like an LG G4 crossed with a Samsung S2020 or whatever they're calling it now.
I don't know what that means. It's a phone. It's a rectangle, and the screen has curved corners.
No. I was going to say it's following the Samsung sort of curving, but it's got a round camera bubble at the rear, if you will.
A smooth camera bubble.
I think.
Well, I mean, honestly, I like it better than the S20's cassette tape that they're using.
Yeah, that's not, to be honest with you. It's got the usual slew of specs of Qualcomm Snapdragon, 8 gigs of DRAM in the higher end model, 6 gigs in the lower end.
Sorry.
64 gigs on board in the low end, 128 gigs on board in the high end. IPS LCD display, 2400 by 1080. So basically,
I don't like
it's a 20 by 9 screen, but it's within line of kind of the iPhone, but not. It's a bit lower pixels. You won't notice, let's be honest.
That's I'm not liking all these aspect ratios. There's just so many different ultra wide aspect ratios now, and like 21:9 is good because 16:9 is like established, and 21:9 is approximately like anamorphic widescreen that gets used in film. What is it, like 2.35:1?
Mm-hmm.
But all of these other ones, it's like I'm trying to think how to put it into words. It's like it's too narrow to do films well, and it's too wide to do like 16:9 well. So you just get this weird aspect ratio. I'm not a fan.
And don't they have to? Doesn't Netflix have to do like a custom resolution for every time you watch it on like on a wide phone like that, or like a big dropping edge phone like that?
The way the YouTube app handles it is you have the option to zoom in so it fills the phone, or you can zoom it out so it's native aspect ratio. But I don't know how other players handle that.
Yeah. No, because I was reading a lot about Netflix and how they do because I was looking like at their DRM and how their DRM blocks a lot of recording programs on desktop and stuff like that. And then from that, I was like, oh, I wonder if they do the same for cell phones, which, by the way, they don't. You can easily record a Netflix show off your cell phone and be perfectly fine. There's apparently no DRM in place for that. It's only on desktop.
We at the Extreme Hardware Podcast do not endorse this.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying.
Extreme Hardware doesn't endorse piracy, but I can't say the same for the podcast hosts.
I'm like that guy over at Curb Security who just like exposes massive leaks just because he can, not for any intentional purpose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's called chaos and it's fun. Okay, so the ports on this are making me angry. On one hand, it's a high-end phone.
I'm trying to get into that. Yes.
Yeah, but I want to get into it. On one hand, it's a high-end phone and it has a headphone jack, which is cool because headphone jacks are cool. And it has a USB Type-C connector, but the Type-C connector is only wired for USB 2. There are no super speed wires at all. It's just, it's USB 2, but you can flip it upside down, and I hate it.
Even a spec? Is that like a custom spec that they have to do?
No, they just don't populate all the pins. Like there is no custom specification. They just don't populate it. It would be like if you Frick, do you remember like about 10 years ago when USB 3 was becoming a thing in PC cases, but it wasn't on motherboards yet?
That sweet blue USB was the thing.
Yeah, but it was like motherboards didn't have the 19-pin headers, so what case manufacturers did, and I've got a few from my Bitphoenix Prodigies, which I purchased 2 of and have not used yet because I'm a grown-up who's good at money, but it came with a cable, so you could plug it into a USB 2 header on the motherboard and a USB 3 header to the case. That's basically what it is. it's just using the USB 2 wires. The USB 3 wires aren't connected, and because of how the USB standard works, that's fine. It'll just run in the slower mode because it has to support the slower mode.
That is pointless.
No, because you still get.
Thing.
Honestly, I question if it is pointless. There's a few reasons for it. Number one, cell phones have to have that whole unified charging standard thing. That's like European Union rules, and I think that's moving over to USB-C shortly. So they would want to do that. USB-C is the hot new thing, and in addition supports USB power delivery, which is a different specification, but that means you can get up to 100 watts charging. You're not going to see that in a phone because it bursts into flames, but that is part of the USB PD standard. And you get a reversible connector, so there actually are some benefits over just micro USB. Even though it's limited to USB 2.0, there are some benefits that the USB-C connector can provide.
Yeah,
it is very silly.
I think Frick was saying it's pointless to make it USB 2, and I kind of agree. Like, if you're doing USB-C, just enable all of it, please.
Well, so I would only argue no, only due to the production cost of doing the full fat USB 3.
Actually, give me a second, because
I remember. No, real quick, because Gamers Nexus, in one of their factory tours that they did a while ago, when they were wiring up the USB 3.1 Gen 2 headers, it was all done by hand.
Really?
There's no really good way to automate that process. It's not great. However, that's kind of what it comes down to. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place of how much do we want to increase the production cost and then move that over to the customer. And right now, I don't think Nokia is in a real position where they can get away with making a $2,000 phone for the SMGs.
Yeah. I mean, Nokia at this point, in terms of like market share, they've got to be like nearing pre-collapse BlackBerry levels, no? In the smartphone market? I mean, they probably dominate the feature phone market, no doubt about that. But in terms of like smartphone game, they've got to be like at the bottom of the tier.
I mean, honestly, this looks like a pretty solid phone. The fact that they're doing a 4-camera module means that they've got some kind of research and development going on. It's not just like, here's a 2-year-old reference Qualcomm platform or something like that. Specs are pretty good, although the DRAM is actually irritating me. The entry-level 64 gig storage version, 6 gigs of DRAM, 128 gig version, 8 gigs of RAM. How are they doing that? How does that work? Like, LPDDR is kind of weird because you can actually get memory chips that are like 3 gigabyte or 6 gigabyte or 12 gigabyte. It's not just powers of 2, it's powers of 2 plus 50% that's available. And I don't like it.
Anyway, one thing I do quite like about it, it has a fingerprint reader on the side of the phone. So
that'd be good for a corporate kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of people have complained about whether you want to call it Windows Hello or, the Apple Face sensor thingamajiggy, or I'm sure Samsung's got a version of it as well. And this will have a version of it as well. It's always nice to have an alternative fingerprint thing because that always works even when you're not looking at your phone.
Yeah, biometric scanners like that are pretty nifty, although...
Haven't you disabled yours? That seems like something you'd do.
No, I mean, it's nifty technology, and yes, I've turned it off because I'll punch in a password. It's also kind of on principle because last time I checked, biometric passwords aren't protected legally in the same way as like punch a number into your keyboard passwords.
Well, what it comes down to is you can't feign ignorance on biometrics.
Yeah, there's also that. And don't tread on me, government. So there you go.
Jeez. I looked up some of these stats, see where they are market wise. Got curious. So as of last year, out of say 15 of the top brands in smartphones, Nokia is ranked 13th.
That's actually kind of surprising. Chris.
Podcast juice.
No, it just sounds like podcast background noise.
Sorry.
Podcast static.
Anyway, that's enough about that Nokia, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So,
No. Wait. One thing. The reason that I linked this was because I wanted to make a joke. The color of the phone is
Blue.
What does Anatech say here? The device has a rounded back and comes in a polar night color that was inspired by Aurora Borealis, usually seen in northern Finland.
God, no. Oh, no, please don't.
Wait, why? What's the joke?
Please don't. Please don't do it.
Aurora Borealis.
God
Damn it.
At this time of year.
At this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely in your kitchen.
On this podcast.
Shut up, Simmons.
You gotta do the modern memes. Right now, the Pickle Rick meme is the hot one.
No.
And then, I shit you not, he turned himself into Aurora Borealis.
There you
It
go.
was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
It's a twist on the plot. Hey, you guys ever heard?
That's a Family Guy joke.
You guys ever heard of this thing
It's a
called
Family
Uganda
Guy.
Doubles?
It's
That is.
probably not a Family Guy joke.
Chris, everything you say is a Family Guy joke.
Okay, go on.
What? I don't know what's going on anymore because of the podcast juice.
Alice, what's
Okay.
next?
What is next? I don't know. I never know.
Wait, did
Anyway,
you just call him Alice?
no,
Alice.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
So, how much do you guys like Comcast?
Oh, that's a good one.
Comcast, more like.
Okay, so Comcast published by mistake 200,000 unlisted phone numbers,
Jesus.
and
I guess they're listed
this is
now.
this is not the first time they've done it. The previous time they did it, they had to pay a $33 million fine. They've made the oopsie whoopsie again. So they've mistakenly published the names, phone numbers, and addresses of nearly 200,000 customers who pay monthly fees to make their numbers purposefully unlisted.
Yeah.
Why does that cost money?
Because
Comcast.
Because
Yeah.
America, and they own the
Yeah.
telecom companies.
yeah, that's an easy way to make money.
I
And
mean,
it's
yeah,
probably
obviously.
businesses and stuff.
I mean, no, I understand. Yeah, capitalism. They want to make money off whatever this is. That's how that works. But no, I mean, like, why in any? Why is this something that requires money to do? I guess
Okay,
because
so-
this just
so-
seems like flipping a switch. Like,
No,
You want to know something weird? It also requires money to like freeze your credit account. So if you want, like the big thing a while ago
What?
when like Equifax and all that other stuff started going under, which by the way, if you guys haven't gotten your refund check for the Equifax thing, you better get on it while you still can. When that all was happening, people were calling these places that are supposed to, you would think would be public, like the credit bureaus and all that stuff that like control your
Wolfer Cran's
credit
about
score,
this. I'm gonna get a water snack.
control your credit score and all that stuff. You think that'd be like public utilities and like public services, but they're not. You have to actually pay to freeze your accounts at this company, like which records that it purposely or well, allegedly purposely leaked. And then you have to like pay them a fee just to make sure you don't like totally have your life turned upside down. It's really bizarre. It's really strange.
Well, I mean, keep it. Oh, I was going to say the only comment I'm going to make on that is the fact that the entire credit system is bound to 3 private entities is wonderful. First of all, and then second of all, the entire deal with the monetization of it. If your number's public, the Comcast and the other ISPs can just monetize it, and now they're losing money on selling your data somehow. So you got to make it up to them somehow. It's stupid.
It's a subtle way that, and a lot of people don't realize that their own, I guess, like cell phone provider does the same thing. Because what a lot of cell phone providers will do is they have like T-Mobile does this, where they have like T-Mobile Tuesdays or some such thing, like some special day where, hey, look, we give you this free thing, and okay, that sounds good. Like you get a free burger at Wendy's or something. All you have to do is download the app and agree to the terms, and by doing that, you get some free schlock, whatever it is. Well, by doing that, you've basically given up your soldier data. They're like, oh, look, hey, you guys can do this. I give you permission to do this in exchange for this like free hamburger. It's a real subtle way of doing it.
Well, I think the big one that T-Mobile Tuesdays gets away with is their agreement with Shell.
Yeah, it's some shit. I mean, we'll get into the whole thing about like conglomeration and all that. We'll be here all day. But anyway, go back to
because with Shell, their big deal is on the T-Mobile Tuesday, you get 10 cents off of your gas at Shell. Yeah. So that one's a really enticing one for a lot of people.
Oh, speaking of getting gas, I was thinking about getting 93 octane for my Corolla so it goes fast.
That's not how that works.
Here's the thing.
Yes, it is.
That sounds like something I would say. Second of all, if you guys really are set on like selling your data, just download what's that browser, Simmons, where like you basically just sell your data. You use the browser and it pays you to use the browser because it sells your ad data. What's that browser called?
Crap. I don't remember. Oh man, it's been a few years since I heard about that.
Yeah, I'll look for it real quick, but there is a browser you can download. And if your data is getting sold either way. So if that's the case, download this browser. It'll sell your data. You'll get paid for it. You might as well. And then just do whatever you want. I'll look it up right now, but hang on.
We are not endorsed by this, but Frick is excited.
Anyway, so with the Comcast thing, the names and numbers were actually made available on Eco Listing, which is a directory run by Comcast themselves.
Oh, that's
nice.
So then other third-party directories, which essentially scrape these directories, found them. And after discovering the mistake, Comcast shut down Eco Listing, the directory, and gave $100 credit to the affected customers. Keep in mind, they pay $3.50 per month to have this service.
Tree fitty.
And I think they're just trying to hopefully avoid another lawsuit.
they're not getting out of that one.
Yeah.
Because, they're thinking 100 times 200,000 is what? Is that 20 million?
Yeah, but what'll happen is because they've been in this situation before, and it's a similar thing. There is some huge fine. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to get hit with a huge fine. They're going to go to court. They're going to sort of delay it and just fill it with a bunch of legal nonsense because that's what Comcast lawyers are really good at. And then one of two things is going to happen. Either one, the fee is going to get dismissed completely, or it's going to be so small that it's going to be like a slap on the wrist, like $5 million or $4 million.
Last time it happened, they refunded everything and paid out $100 to each person affected. It cost Comcast $10 million.
That's nothing.
That time.
Well, yeah, still, but that's it costs them money. Their customers got refunds plus 100 free smackaroonies.
But it's 100 credits. It's worth noting, which means here's
whatever.
$100
You're not
worth
getting
of
checks.
bill.
They keep it within their own
Comcast.
It's like Disney dollars.
Yeah, that $100 credit doesn't cost Comcast $100.
No.
So they could do something like that. There's always a way around it.
But that also, it's almost a tangent to, and we don't have it in the doc, but did you all hear about all the cell phone service providers that just magically lifted all of their data caps due to the horse virus?
Yeah, it turns out it was a lot of bullshit to squeeze money out of customers. Who would have thought?
Chris, calm down with your mouth.
Yeah, that's where the words come out.
Too many words are coming out and too many food is going in.
Look, it's better that hole than something else. So just let them do it.
No.
So
there's a lot of jokes I could make now, but I'm responsible and won't make them.
Oh, by the way, I found the name of the browser. The name of the browser that pays you to browse with it is called Brave. Brave browser. That's what it's called.
How ironic.
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Plus rep.
Thank you, Chris. So Sony, and we're probably late to jump on this has been revealed 4 days ago. Sony has revealed more details on the PlayStation 5 spec. So
you sound so excited about this article, Alex.
Well, to be honest, I'm not excited about this. Well, no, because it doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered. Like
that. Honestly, agreed. Console specs don't matter.
They change it, so not change it, but like you can't take the specs and go, this is the performance we're going to get, because software and game developers are so damn good at extracting things you would never have thought they could extract from these things. They're so unique and special so many of the times. Yes, we know it's going to have technologies anyway.
I think having here's the thing, though. Go ahead,
Mr.
Horse.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I let Simmons go. I like Simmons better.
It's a Canadian standoff.
I think the reason this is such a big deal.
Shut up.
I think the reason that this is actually having some significance is because the last generation of consoles, when it launched, was already using hardware that was like 3 years old. And now with this new...
it was actually up to spec. It was just very slow, but up to date. It would be like if a console today came out, it was like, wow, a GTX 1650. Thanks, Microsoft. It was something like that.
It was trash. I mean, you can expose it however you want, but it was for that time. Even then, it was considered weak. Now we've got hardware that's, I think, the equivalent of the Series X is like 2080 performance or something, or close to it.
No,
it's
no way.
Here's the deal. Like, they're gonna throw around numbers like, it gets this many teraflops, but that means nothing because this is a new architecture. This is RDNA 2. I think both of them are RDNA 2, which is an architecture we've never seen before. Correct. Which means it doesn't matter. You can't compare it to existing Navi GPUs because that's an older RDNA. You can't compare it to NVIDIA anything because that's completely different, like fundamentally different. So you're just left with this vague number that it might reach in LinPack, but games ain't LinPack, so it's really meaningless. It doesn't even get you that good a ballpark estimate.
Good news is, the reason it's important is because it's modern hardware. And I think just having modern hardware, it's going to be good for PC gaming, because guess what? Those ports are going to be actually pretty decent, and we're going to get some performance that we couldn't get with the previous gen. So I think it's not like the most exciting thing ever, but I think in terms of like what it can do for PC gaming, especially when it comes to ports, I think it's a good thing, because they're basically PCs now anyway. Yeah. They have been for the past generation.
So what I think is interesting, just looking over the specs now, I think the Xbox Series X also got like more in-depth specs confirmed. So they're both doing 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, and I believe that this is like entire system memory, kind of like last gen, right? Where you had the APUs and it was big shared memory pool. They're doing the same again this gen. The Xbox Series X is doing asymmetric memory, as in 10 gigabytes run at a 320-bit bus, and the remaining 6 gigabytes run at a 192-bit bus. They're using like clamshell mode, but only on some of the memory modules. It's like 192-bit Kepler GPUs again. Sony is actually being smart and just doing like 16 gigabytes, 256-bit. It's fine. There's not going to be any weird slowdowns. I don't know. One of the most interesting things that they've been talking up is storage. And I don't know what they're doing with that, because when they did the big reveal and they're talking about all the specs and whatnot, they're talking like, oh yeah, guys, it's going to hit 5.5 gigabytes per second. It's a PCI 4.0, PCI Express 4.0 SSD. It's going to be really fast. But the problem is 5.5 gigabytes is sequential speeds. And Sony was talking up, you can use this SSD to load individual assets from individual files on the fly. You don't have to load an entire scene at once. You can load like the part of the game world that you're looking at into memory, and then you can pull the rest of it from the disk when you turn to look behind yourself. But the thing is, that doesn't mesh up with the 5.5 gigabytes per second, which means it's going to be slower than that, because SSDs are still not particularly good at random speeds when you compare it to DRAM. So that sucks. Sony also, unlike Microsoft, is using a standard M2 SSD. So just like, I think it's a standard M2 M-key SSD, but they're also locking out drives that don't meet a certain speed, which means you have to buy a PCIe Gen 4 SSD, and it has to get like certain speeds to be usable in the PS5, but they're talking up sequential speeds, and random speeds are what are going to be more important based on their presentation. I have no idea what they're going for with this. Like, I really hope they can leverage using like flash instead of a hard disk drive, but
it's something also like, since forever, consoles have pretty much been very, very marketing languaged with when they release specs or any statements. And it's just really, I don't care, because it's not what it's going to be.
You know, I also wonder, Alex, just on that note, if the reason that as time goes on, we're hearing more and more about like teraflops and gigabytes per second. I wonder if that's because like this kind of terminology is becoming more mainstream as like more gamers get into computers.
Well, no, Sony actually publicly denounced the importance of teraflops when they did their big reveal. They actually said teraflops aren't everything. They are not that important. Don't get fooled.
They are correct, but I think they also get less than Microsoft. Actually, let's do the math on this. 36 compute units.
It's like 10.28 teraflops, so like 9. And the 9 teraflops they have is under like boost clocks.
So PS5 is getting like 10.3 teraflops, and the Xbox is getting... And the Xbox is getting 12.1, denouncing teraflops as a unit of measurement as the end-all be-all because Microsoft is beating them.
So what's the big deal? What they're saying is absolutely right. It's not the end-all be-all.
But it's the same architecture, though.
But you know what's going to happen? There's going to be people going, "Oh, the Xbox is better. Oh, PlayStation better."
It doesn't matter. It's a console.
Then they're going to come out. It's going to be what you expect it to be. Even if they were different, right? Developers wouldn't design them that different, and you'd probably look at like at best case 60 FPS versus 55 FPS, which
or
you won't notice.
60 FPS at native 1080p versus 60 FPS 900p upscaled. Like, it's fine. It really doesn't matter.
And at the end of the day, you should probably just get a Switch instead.
Because like this is the second console generation in a row where it's not an off-the-shelf PC. These are absolutely custom parts, and that does make them interesting. But it's standard. Like, it's an AMD semi-custom SoC. So you get a standard AMD core that they've already made and released in several products, and you get a standard AMD GPU architecture that they've made and released in several products. And we know how it behaves. Like, that's the thing, because if like we were talking, you know, if this podcast were running 15 years ago and we're talking about the Xbox 360, like, wow, look at the Xenon CPU, right? It's like a cell processor, but it's got 3 of the PPEs and none of the SPEs, and it's this really cool chip. And wow, look at the GPU, a unified shader architecture. Look at how new and novel that is. But now it's mundane. Like 2 console generations in a row, it's just mundane. And hell, even Nintendo. I think the Wii U used a pretty standard PowerPC core and a pretty standard, actually Terascale GPU, like AMD before they released GCN. And now the Switch is using like a pretty basic NVIDIA Tegra SoC. And yes, it's customized, but it's not fundamentally altered. That's the thing. Like, it's Maxwell, it's Pascal, it's whatever custom ARM core they're using. Like, it's all of these normal things. Like, there's nothing super duper unique about it.
And on one hand, get out of my PlayStations.
Yeah, like on one hand, it's kind of sad that we lose this like novel, unique hardware, but on the other hand, that's probably a good thing because it's easier to design.
Programming it. Do you remember how bad?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. It's a good thing because it's easier to program, it's easier to design, and just it's streamlined, right? It's simpler to do. And that's ultimately a net positive for everybody.
One thing we still don't know is because, like, I guess this is Sony's big thing, is they won't release too much info about their SSD. So right now we have no idea what kind of flash memory it uses, and we have no idea who built the controllers. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know about it just yet, and I think that's very much intentional. Once we actually get it, we'll find out. I think, I don't know if you guys watched the reveal conference, but the way that they were phrasing it was they were announcing SSDs as like this giant revelation. And they're like, you know, we've had from our developers, what they've wanted is something fast and something that you can find only on the highest end of PCs. And they're talking about SSDs, the things that have been around for like a decade. And like, you know, so we dived in deep to find out what this new technology was. And we found it was called solid state drives. Our developers loved it. And then I don't if they didn't show any reaction shots, the devs, because I think it was like a developer only conference reveal. But I'm sure if they did, the developer was like, "What are you people talking about?"
Well, no, I mean,
revolution, but it wasn't at all.
So, well, one of the things that they were talking up is that like game install sizes can actually get smaller because they gave Spider-Man as an example. They had to use like the same texture 400 times in the game files because it was just quicker to load. Because keep in mind, old consoles were using laptop hard drives. Now we're using PCI Express 4 and NVMe SSDs. Like this is easily like 50 times faster in sequential speeds, 1,000 times faster in random speeds, maybe. Like it's an incredible speed boost, and I mean, I think it's safe to say that we've just kind of collectively agreed since the Vista days that like a computer's storage is its biggest bottleneck. Like that's why SSDs became a thing. That's why people spend so much money on them, because it doesn't matter if you can get like a high-end Ryzen system or like a Core i9 9900 KS, right, and overclock it further, your computer is still going to feel slow because it's using a hard disk, and that's just inherently slower than flash, and it's the biggest bottleneck. So storage is very important, but at the same time, I'm not sure games are going to be able to take the biggest advantage of it.
I'm actually worried that they will.
I put an SSD into my PS3 when I like first started learning about SSDs. That was a pretty common practice back then. The thing is, it didn't really do anything because games weren't designed around it.
Of course not. Yeah, they weren't designed around it. And well, why would it? They have to work off the hard disk. And I mean, hell, like, I don't think I've ever installed a game to my Xbox 360. I think I just like loaded things off the optical drive. Like,
yeah, optical drives. Remember those?
I mean, I've still got one. It's actually breaking because I've used it so much ripping discs.
Can you buy like a new optical drive now? Is that something that they sell?
Yeah, you can still get them. They still make them. Japan still uses a bunch of them, so they're pretty common over there. There's actually a number of laptops, like new laptops in Japan with optical drives. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like Blu-ray is superior to streaming as far as I'm concerned. But that's a rant for another. What am I saying? I don't know. I had too much podcast juice.
Anyway.
By podcast juice, I mean straight bourbon, just to remind everybody. I feel nice. Go ahead, Alex.
So, moving on from the PlayStation thing, because we have talked enough about that. Something interesting. Yes. There's a few other things. I'm kind of just jumping all over the document here, but one I do want to talk about, and this is more of a rumor, it's towards the end there. It is rumored that the MacBook lineup is supposed to make the switch to Apple-based, like Apple hardware-based CPUs.
Which means ARM rather than x86, which would be the second time that Apple has changed completely changed the ISA that they use, because it went from a PowerPC to x86 when the Core 2 Duo came out.
Core Duo, actually.
No, just Core 2 Duo.
Duo. The original ones had the Core Duos. I know because I had one.
I don't think Core Duo was actually a brand name.
Yeah, it was. Anyway.
Oh, it was. It was the Enhanced Pentium M, but shut up.
Anyway, so it's supposed to be late 2020. Basically, September when they release the next refresh. I think it's September or November. They want to move, and they've been saying they wanted to move away from Intel for quite a while now. Apple tends to be very vocal about how it hates its partners that it works with. It's not the best business practice, but they're big enough to do it.
Fun fact, since I was complaining about how Kepler is just a bad GPU architecture last night, Apple and NVIDIA, for example, get along so poorly that Kepler is noticeably faster than Maxwell on a Mac. Which should not be the case, because Kepler aged so poorly that the 750 Ti is actually faster than a 760 these days, and I think is about as fast as a 770.
That doesn't make sense.
In gaming. It doesn't, but the 750 Ti is Maxwell GM107, and the
No, I
other two are
know.
Kepler GK104. It's just Kepler is such a bad architecture that the smaller Maxwell chip is faster.
Yeah.
But that's not the case in Apple systems because NVIDIA and Apple just hate each other so much.
Yeah. Anyway,
Uh,
so there's a rumor essentially that the MacBook Pro and MacBook Air models, in the second quarter of 2020, are supposed to, replace their Intel lineup CPUs, which is very interesting in a holistic standpoint, if you will, because Apple's been moving for quite a while to try and unify all their offerings, if you will. I think Apple's very good at doing this, especially if you're in the ecosphere. If you have a MacBook or you have an iPhone, pairing AirPods to an iPhone is way, like, you could tell they spent hours doing that, like developing it to be as good as it is. And it's amazing. It's quick. It's easy.
yeah.
The iMessage interaction between your phone and your laptop is so good because it's one of those things you think, oh, why couldn't this just work? And they've gone and implemented it. You get two-factor authentication message.
The Apple ecosystem is incredibly good. I personally don't like it because, well, that's not what I'm looking for as a user. But if you invest into it, you get a very good ecosystem, and I cannot argue with anybody who wants to do that. Actually, Dad's been considering moving away from Mac, and my mom as well, just because, like, both of my parents have been considering moving away from Mac, and I've just been telling them, like, little things that will go away, like calendar syncing to their phones. And
the iMessage thing for me is a huge one because, like, you can get a two-factor authentication message on your phone. It pops up in iMessage on your laptop, and it autofills in the two-factor authentication box in Safari. That's so nice.
No,
it's
like
such an obvious
thing. That's a thing that I really like, and I mean, hell, that works with like cell networks.
No, it's such an obvious thing, and it's probably not that hard to implement, but it's just like a nice to have. The calendar syncing is great. The photo syncing can be good. The problem is you need to go all in, or you're not going to have a great experience. That's the issue.
That is really my biggest issue with Macs, because if I go all in, then I lose out on a lot of things that I can do with a computer, and I simply do not have the patience to make a Hackintosh. Like,
it's not even that.
I don't have the patience.
Well, I mean, like, I'm clearly I don't have a MacBook, but if I were to be forced to buy a laptop, I would buy a MacBook.
Is it really that difficult? I remember doing it a while ago. I would just install Parallels on my MacBook, and that was it. I could have both.
Okay, Frick, you have Apple hardware in the first place. We're talking about, like, buying some Asus ROG commodity crap and installing Mac OS on that. We're not talking about installing Windows on a Mac. That's relatively easy. Actually, that's very straightforward. I think Apple provides the software for it. I hesitate to say that, like, two-factor authentication messages are easy to implement, just because you would have to have something in the software intercepting stuff from another program, but also keeping it secure. Like, that actually has to be really difficult, and I don't think there's really any security holes where you can, like, run some code on a browser and it's like, here's all your text messages.
When I say easy, I mean easy to, like, it's an obvious thing to think of. It's not like...
Like, I mean, no, I agree. That's a very simple idea. Implementing it is harder, but using it as a user, it's trivial. Like, it is very trivial. Like, I mean, even just using it on my phone, right? Okay, I get a text message from this two-factor authentication thing that wanted my cell number, and I get a text message, and then I tap this text box, and it says, from messages, here's your little 6-digit code to punch in. That's really cool. Like, I really like that. That's very smooth. That's very well implemented.
And then we go on to the other side, where I basically cannot drag pictures off my phone because they hate you doing that. Because
oh my god, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
what I was trying to say originally is, the movement with Pad OS and Mac OS,
iPad
trying
OS.
to make them as similar as possible. This makes sense to me. I think they're going to try and basically merge what the iPad is and what the MacBook is into a single thing in the future.
I wonder if they could do something kind of like Windows, where Windows 10 has like tablet mode and desktop mode. Although it's
But
Windows, so
imagine-
that's kind of like a bodge that they've tried to get with like 30 years of legacy code. But I wonder if Apple could do the same if they had like an ARM MacBook and of course the ARM iPads. If they
But
could
just
kind of do
imagine
same
that,
thing.
right? But the current Surface Book lineup where you have the detachable screen and then you have the Surface, which is like the flappy keyboard. I could see that. You buy the screen and that's like the Mac/iPad, and then you can either get a hard mounting keyboard with extra battery life and maybe a GPU.
So like a Surface Book or a Surface type of
Surface.
keyboard.
You buy the
Oh,
Surface,
that would actually be cool, wouldn't it? Like
and you can
a
either
Surface
get
Book
the
keyboard
book,
or a Surface keyboard, like
Yeah.
the Surface cover keyboard, and then you
Yeah.
like plop your computer. Oh, that'd be nifty. I like that idea. Also, that'd be hard to implement, but
I know,
I
but
like
I'm
that
just saying,
idea.
I could see them maybe going that direction. I don't know how you'd have to do it. Maybe you'd have it via the USB-C port at the bottom or something, or the side. I don't. Anyway, that's too much. Simmons is still ovening out his chicken or
How
something.
long did that take? We making like chicken thighs or something?
He's ovening it out so he can ove it in his face.
Haha, yes, the oven is where you put the food in so it cooks, and when the food is done cooking, you put it in the oven out so you can oven it out and eat it.
Who told
Simmons
you that?
just said he needs a mummy.
He needs a mummony. Is that
I need
money
my
or is
mama.
that mommy?
I miss
At
my
the
mom.
moment.
I need a mommy and I need money.
Need my tendies, mommy, please.
So, okay. So, with the horse flu going around,
Yeah, the
Um,
horse flu, that's gonna kill me. God, I hope that kills me. Simmons, did you hear the thing?
E3.
Oh, yeah.
I had
E3.
more podcast juice than intended, but yeah, go
Oh,
on.
I think he has his AirPods in.
Oh no, he has AirPods in! Simmons,
AirPods.
look out! Oh no, he has AirPods.
He's activated his AirPods.
Mrs. Obama, get down.
No, please.
I'm sorry.
No more podcast juice for you.
Eat shit, Dad.
E3 has been cancelled.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, E3 got canceled. Oh no, it's because the horse flu is gonna murder the shit out of all of us. Because oh yeah, I can't say bad words anymore. I'm sorry.
Chris, I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Please do. I probably deserve it. Simmons, I'm gonna drive past several National Guard blockades and go to
There are some
whatever
things
you
that
think
should not be said on the internet, Chris.
It's okay. The National Guard blockades haven't been
Chris.
set up yet.
Shut
Just
up, Chris.
Oh.
Shut up, Chris. Okay. E3 was canceled. All right, moving
Yeah,
on.
oh yeah, we did that.
Simmons,
E3
do you want to read that, please?
Yeah, sure. One moment.
I can read it for you if you want, but
No, I got it. So this article was last updated on the 11th.
today. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's not how dates
Yeah,
work.
this is a little bit older. We missed last week, so that's why I included it. And the quote from E3 Staving says, after careful consultation with our member companies regarding the health and safety of everyone in the industry, blah, 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 we have made the difficult decision to cancel E3 2020, scheduled for June 9th through 11th. It is due to the horse flu. Not much of value was lost to IMO. That's my 2 cents on it.
Honestly,
It is-
the biggest loss, Jason, is it Schreier or Skyer from Kotaku said that like the biggest loss is going to be just those happenstance meetups between like a journalist and an indie dev, or like
absolutely.
an indie dev and an investor, that kind of thing. Because like all of the keynotes, they can just stream them at this point on their Twitch channels. That's fine. Like that's no big deal.
See,
That's
and
not
that
a
was-
loss.
That was what I was a little bit confused about with all this, because we've seen within the past couple of weeks the WWE event where there was nobody in the audience and all the level of clips that came from that.
God, that's just so eerie. It's like
It was hilarious. It was actually.
Did you see
some
that
of the best
Stone Cold thing? Or he's talking to an audience, he just has like blank look on his face. He's not
And,
like any
and then
fun.
there's that one announcer guy. He's just like, hell yeah, and he just looks up at him like so disappointed.
That's great. That's great.
No, but I'm surprised that they didn't decide to go to an all digital format to kind of alleviate it. Yes, it is an issue because a lot of the best things that come out of E3 are the interactions that journalists and people who are fortunate enough to get tickets to go to be able to interact with these various developers and publishers and stuff along those lines. That is gone by doing full streaming, but a lot of these big publishers wait for E3 for these major announcements. So like I can imagine that Xbox and PlayStation both probably had a big announcement in regards to the new consoles. And, Nintendo's going to do Nintendo things where they're still like 15 years in the past, but all their content's fantastic, so nobody cares. So, and we're probably not going to see, what's his name? Keanu Reeves again this year. But you know what? That was the time.
you're breathtaking.
But, oh, no. That man was plastered. Not quite as plastered as Chris is right now. But you know what?
I
It was
can
still a
get
time.
more plastered, Mom.
No.
No, I'm not going to do that. My entire family has told me, like,
Okay,
individually
Chris,
that I'm obnoxious when I drink.
Chris, you're obnoxious when you drink.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's all I got on this one. I guess stay tuned to see if they decide to do an all digital event instead. The fact that nothing has been mentioned yet is kind of curious to me. They haven't dismissed it, but they haven't acknowledged it either. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right decision to make, frankly.
I mean,
So-
I agree, but it's one of those things. It's like a lot of these other events have already started contemplating doing all streaming based announcements, keynotes, and stuff along those lines. So
you're thinking like the horse flu gets like it's over, whatever, it's 2023, but E3 is still streamed.
well, I mean, but E3 has been streamed very
No, but I
heavily
mean-
over the past
See,
3 years.
no.
No, what I'm saying
Oh,
is a fallback.
No, Alex, that's the thing. Like, one of the biggest consequences of horse flu, don't think about potentially the new seasonal disease that's going to be alongside flu. Like, that is a possibility that hasn't been ruled out. And don't think about, like, the potentially millions of people dead. The biggest consequence to society is going to be that these existing systems and just like things that we do are currently being shown to not be necessary. For example, in-person industry conferences such as E3, or working in an office in person, for example. That's going to be the biggest consequence. And if E3 2020 online goes well, there might not be a reason to go back to in person on a show floor. They might not do it. Like, this might encourage them, or
Chris, I'm going to interrupt you just because that's completely inaccurate, because the big takeaway was the big thing that you get from these events is the social networking. You are essentially eliminating the social networking, which is probably more valued than the actual announcements themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, and then you look at like your comparison to, say, working in the office versus teleconferencing. I mean, that's a tangent of its own, because numerous studies have proven that people are not as productive when they're teleworking.
But
it's like there's still a necessity for these in-person interactions. What I think is going to change is just a shift to contingency plans, where, hey, if crap hits the fan and we can't do our traditional format, we've got this backup.
Yeah, but Simmons, keep in mind, although one of the biggest benefits of E3 is in-person meetups and interactions, does the ESA agree with you? does the entity that is responsible for E3 agree that this is the most important part? Because if they simply think that it is the conferences, and I mean, hell, like, doesn't it cost money to do a conference at E3? Because if it does, and the companies like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo and EA and all of these people, if they switch to online and they don't see any downside, will they necessarily get a booth or a keynote at E3 2021?
I mean, the thing about E3, and it's good that you brought the price, because E3 is incredibly expensive if you're an indie dev. I looked up some of the prices on Engadget's, an article where they break down the cost of an E3 booth. It ranges anywhere from $30,000 to $500K.
Wow, $500K? What does that get you?
It's probably one of those mega booths.
I'll put the article in that. But no, I mean, they talk about that's $250K is like no frills, right? But you want to talk about like costumes, and you want to talk about like having a set and a design and having all this stuff there. And you're looking at least $500K. And for big publishers, that's not a big deal. But for smaller people, like $30,000, like, oh my God, that's a lot.
But also the publicity that you get by going to that event could potentially make up for that cost that you're going to sink in going to said event. You know what I'm saying?
You know what, Simmons, I would agree with you. But here's the thing. There's so many indie game conferences that have raised up now. Like PAX is really big. Too Many Games is really big.
I would say that PAX is no longer like the indie game conference that it used to be, just due to how big PAX days. But you are right. There are several other conferences that exist now that do or that are indie focused.
Yeah, I think in terms of E3 had sort of this like monopoly and like, oh, if you wanted to have your game be seen, that was the place to see it. But now I think if you're an indie dev, I mean, hell, Yandere Dev, for example, I don't know if he ever but any of his stuff, but he's like,
Frick, shut up. No, shut up. Don't encourage us.
I don't want to acknowledge him.
I agreed. I'm not familiar with it. I just
pick a different developer. How about that?
I mean, I'm out of the loop, but okay, let's say something like I don't know, the people that made
Shovel Knight.
Phil Fish. No, that's not a good one.
Philip Fishup.
Maybe not Phil.
No, but I know what you're saying, because like one of the events that I would regularly attend was called Magfest, and it was based out of DC. I think like the biggest populace that they've had is 5,500 people, and they cap it around that. And that's different because it's a lot more affordable for these indie devs to come in and show off their stuff. They just set up these little rigged up booths with their game or their projects and stuff along those lines. And that's a great way to get people interested in like a more comfortable setting versus something like E3 where you're competing with all the big publishers, and you gotta do this, that, and the other just to get noticed. You know what I'm saying? But then I'm also looking at like stuff like CES, because CES was canceled, I think. And no, I think it was straight up canceled.
CES already happened, didn't it? Like CES is in January.
What am I thinking of?
DC? GDC got canceled, didn't it?
Yes.
Oh God, sorry, what was that, Frick?
GDC got canceled.
Which one? Oh yeah, NVIDIA's Graphic Tech Conference.
Yep.
Yeah, that one got canceled. Yeah, NVIDIA's going to like live stream only. Hopefully we hear stuff about Ampere. Like we're about due for it. And it'll be architecture stuff instead of gaming stuff, because that's their conference for like AI and whatnot. AI.
It's the conference for the developers.
It got postponed. I'm sorry. It got postponed, whatever that means.
Postpone, afterpone.
But so we'll see what happens. I expect this to be just a temporary shift, but I do expect to see in the future a lot more countermeasures for
horse flu is going to kill us all.
Nah, probably just you, since you're already coughing.
No, that's because I inhaled air.
You're gonna end up on that Google map pretty soon.
You kind of have to do that to survive, so.
Yeah, I inhaled air. I inhaled air, and it hit me in the back of the throat the wrong way, and now it feels
inhaled air. What?
Yeah, shut up, Frick.
I breathed in. It was quite an event. I'm looking at this right now, and I think you'll appreciate this.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Topic, but I think you'll appreciate this. There was and I don't know if you've been keeping up with this too much, But did you hear that military thing that happened a while ago? That military food?
No. Why don't you educate us?
All right, so I was talking to a friend of mine who's like, apparently they're doing a lot of stocking up because of like all the craziness that's going on. And I asked him, like, because he works at like a depot or something, and he owns a military surplus shop, right? And I asked him like, what's selling a bunch? Because like they serve MREs and
Gas
a bunch
mask.
of. And I said, dude, what's the biggest thing that like everyone seems to be getting? Well, I mean, before I tell you, what do you think it is? Because it's
gas masks. It's gas masks.
No, it's a
that's
food.
not surprising. It's gas masks.
No, it's toilet paper.
Milsurp toilet paper. It gets splitters in your butthole.
Food.
It's a food. What food?
MREs.
Are you referring to the MREs?
Maybe it's a specific kind of military food that I didn't know existed until now.
I'm not familiar with what you're referring to, so just tell me.
Beans.
There's apparently a type of stock or special kind of peanut butter that comes in an MRE. And yeah, I'll see if I can find a picture of it. But there's this kind of like MRE peanut butter that comes in like a tube or something, or
it comes in a squeeze pack.
Right, yeah. Apparently that thing is the food to get. And I'm like, what, really? He's like, dude, the amount of people that have come in requesting that specifically has been off the charts. And I asked him why. Apparently it's like really nutritious. It's super heavy. It's full of calories. It'll keep you full. It lasts forever. He starts listing off all these things. I'm like, oh my God, apparently peanut butter is some sort of superfood in the apocalypse. And I had no idea.
Yeah, it's because of the Toyota Corolla virus.
So the big thing to note is all these MREs are designed, and you've had one on your channel, so I know you're already familiar. But these MREs are designed to meet a certain calorie requirement. So like depending on what MRE you get, say because they range from anywhere from like pulled pork to vegetarian tortellini these days. They still have to balance that stuff out. So say you have this vegetarian meal that the only calories that you're getting is from the pasta itself. So you need a supplement for the protein and everything else. They will throw in the peanut butter, or they'll throw in M&Ms or stuff along those lines to balance it out, right? And the peanut butter was one of those ones that, especially when I was going through my training. Fun fact for viewers, I may or may not have been in the military, but
thank you for your service.
Shut up! I hate you,
Simmons. I told that to a Starbucks person the other day.
Stop.
And I meant that more seriously.
Shut up, Chris. Shut up. The peanut butter was one of those ones where, for people who really, really like peanut butter, they absolutely loved it. But my biggest issue I had with it was excessively oily, in my opinion, just due to the preservatives that are being used in it. I mean, it tastes like a very potent and heavy peanut butter, just as you described.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, I looked onto some MRE sites I used to get stuff at, and they're all sold out of peanut butter. All the 12 packs, the 1 packs, the big, all of it, all the MRE peanut butter is gone.
So now my next question for you: what about the jalapeno cheese spread?
Oh, you know what? Okay. So from what I understood, because I love, he has so many interesting people come through that surplus shop. One of the things he told me was Tabasco sauce is super popular in the military.
Yes.
Like apparently military dudes go crazy for Tabasco sauce.
Well, not just Tabasco, but Texas Pete.
Is that what it is?
Well, both of them.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah,
both are very sought after.
He told me that like that and the peanut butter have been like, he can't keep them in stock. Like he sold.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, I imagine that there's been an uptick in just like, official requirement to stock up on this kind of stuff. But now that
unofficial requirement,
right,
or need,
AKA the government buying up more MREs as a backstock, just in case.
I'm saying I bet you a whole bunch of people are buying, crazy things.
No. But like we look at the toilet paper shortage, the hand sanitizer shortage, and all that bull crap, and MREs are just. The people who are typically buying MREs are the people who also have fallout shelters built into their basements. And now that scope is kind of expanding because I know they're kind of parody videos on Twitter, but people freaking out because some specific stores are completely out of dish soap. Yeah, those
that's weird.
yes, it like well, but this entire mass hysteria is
weird. Yeah,
in general. So like, you can't control what people are going when people do start freaking out what they're going to do. And this time, for some reason, it's toilet paper. The last time it was bread. Bread is not a problem lately for whatever reason. Actually, the milk. There many of the grocery stores that I've been shopping at lately. They have signs. Only 2 dairy or 2 milk products per person.
Wait, what constitutes a milk product? Do they mean like jugs of milk, or are they also including like whipping cream and butter?
Surprisingly, the buttermilk and the heavier cream was factored into that.
Really?
So
that's silly. Okay.
Yeah, but like goat's milk.
Now what I thought was ironic was the evaporated canned milk. That was not restricted, and of course that shelf was also completely empty.
Oh, nice.
I just found an article on NPR, and this is great. So it talks about what items have been selling the most during this right now, and what's had like the biggest uptick. The number one food that's been selling more than anything else right now is oat milk. Oat milk is the most popular food and beverage product right now. That's what people are going for.
Percentage or total?
I put the article into the chat, but there's been a 347% increase in oat milk. It's been the biggest.
So that sounds percentagely then, because
probably,
probably no one bought it before, and now the kind of person that is maybe has a dystopian prepper mentality is also a person who is drinking oat milk.
What oat milk of all things? Like, you would think it was oat
Do you know
milk.
what actually annoys me is hand sanitizers up massively, as if people don't use soap. I get hand sanitizer for on the go.
I don't wash my hands after the bathroom. I use the bathroom because I don't pee on myself.
No. Okay, so there was an article that I was considering including in our off-topic segment, but there was a report that was done, I think, on Amazon and a few other e-tailers, but the online sale of hand sanitizer is up 800% in the United States.
I cannot find, not that I'm looking for, but like Amazon.ca for like toilet paper, it's a joke, which is annoying because I need to buy toilet paper within like the next month.
Or else.
Well, but then there's also been that big movement of people who did buy random surpluses of it who have started donating it to food banks. So,
did you guys read that article about that guy that bought like 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, but now like Amazon and a bunch of other stores like banned him from selling anything?
Yeah, it turns out profiteering during a pandemic is a shitty thing to do.
Well, I mean, but that's actually been a big issue down where I'm living, where people have been like mass stockpiling the toilet paper, and they've been like selling them at flea market.
What?
Nice. No, I was looking on Craigslist last week for toilet paper. Like when the whole shortages thing started, somebody was selling rolls for like $20 a pop. It was like, I know it's illegal. Yeah, individual rolls is like, yeah, I know it's illegal, but is it unethical to bring a knife to a Craigslist deal?
How many can I get? How many sheets can I get for like $1?
At that price, like 10.
No, so what he's going to do, he's going to cut the toilet paper roll into 20 segments down the cylinder. So you're just going to get the paper pieces.
Thin toilet paper.
I think it's
I did want to cover this topic real quick before we go further off the horse virus tangent, because we were talking about streaming earlier, and there was a guy who was recently suspended from Twitch and dropped from his esports team because he shot a live firearm while inebriated at his desk on stream.
Wait, is this this is a Twitch guy. Didn't we already talk about this? He shot a bullet gun on stream.
Yeah, like he straight up
more podcast
discharged
juice.
his pistol at his desk and I think shot a beer can by accident.
All of those holes in my ceiling are from negligent discharges.
Yeah. And then just because, we've already gone down the pooper, another article that I wanted to talk about real quick before we wrap up is where was this located? In North Yorkshire. A pig started a farm fire by excreting pedometer. What does
that
exactly
is extremely cool. I like this pig.
Okay, so basically what happened is this pig ate a pedometer with a rechargeable battery in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it took when it decided to unload itself, there was a chemical reaction between the poop and the copper from within the device, and started a 75 square meter fire after pooping on a pile of hay.
I'm amazed they found that out.
Yeah,
is one
arson
hell of
investigation
forensic.
is cool.
Yeah.
Simmons has an arson investigation friend. I like him. He's neat. He answered my questions about arson.
Cool.
Okay.
Real quick. So the justification as for how this event even occurred, apparently the pedometer was being used to prove the animal was free range and had been taken off to follow its fellow pigs. No animals were harmed in the result of this fire.
That's good.
Life.
So
That's
all I got.
Last thing, and we got to talk
Yes.
about it. We always have a ranking of some sort in the show. I'd like to talk real quick about the top ranked milkshakes in the country right now.
Oh yeah, let's see it.
Up. And they've done the research. Red Book Magazine just released their usual milkshake ranking article. And they find the best milkshakes in the country and they find the worst. And the worst milkshake in the country, surprisingly, is
I'm going to say
Jack.
it's McDonald's.
No, Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box.
I'm not surprised.
Frank, number 20 on this list says White Castle.
Yeah, but we don't. That's not. Have you seen that thing? That's not a milkshake. That's
That's why it's so bad. They're calling it a milkshake, and
look at number 17, Jack in the Box, and then look at the White Castle thing. They tell me they're not.
Okay,
even
first of all, Frank. Okay, so I think you don't understand what White Castle is for. White Castle is not for good food. White Castle is for having some amount of drug inside your brain and getting hungry.
Right. They got small burgers.
And you know what? I would agree with that, Chris, only because White Castle is awful and Crystals is better.
I have had enough podcasting juice to think, damn, I want to go to White Castle right now.
Do you have White Castle where you live?
Oh, absolutely, dude. We have lots of White
then.
Castles. They have Big Red on tap, and that is awesome because Big Red is a good soda.
Do you have Crystals where you live?
Never heard of them.
Crystals is basically White Castle but better, and I found out why they're better because they put mustard on the burgers.
First of all, mustard is disgusting. Second of all, I want White Castle but fancy. Shut up, Simmons. You know
it's
you're
actually
eating
cheaper
trash
and
food.
greasier.
That's why you go there.
No, it's
Dude,
cheaper and greasier, and it's wonderful.
Oh, well, in that case.
When I was a
And it
kid,
tastes better.
I want my fast food to clog my arteries.
Well, yeah.
when I was a kid, everybody would avoid drinking milkshakes of any sort because they found out that most people who drink milkshakes ended up breaking out in acne really badly.
Ooh, Steak and Shake is up there. Is Steak and Shake really fast food? That's a sit-down restaurant. You get a waiter and everything. I'm
good
not
for
sure
food,
if
yeah.
is Steak and Shake even open at this point. Like
Drive-through
There-
only.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't mean horse flu. I mean, like, there have been a bunch in town that have just been, like, closed down for remodels and whatnot. I think they're, like, under new owners or something. And
Steak and Shake is absolutely still open.
sorry, I'm
fantastic.
touching the foot, and I'm getting weirded out because I'm touching the foot, and it feels like a foot.
Oh God. Okay. No, there's a bunch in the Midwest that are still open. But let's talk about the
not
number
great.
2, number 1. Number 2,
Yes.
Chick-fil-A peach milkshake. Second best
I don't
milkshake.
buy it.
100%. That stuff
That
is
sounds amazing. I really want to try that.
The only thing that I got weirded out with was like I saw them assembling it, and essentially the peach compote that they use is in like it looks like a cock gun. So that was kind of terrifying, but
Oh,
it still
really?
didn't make it taste any less delicious.
It's one of those things where you got to be like in a real because peach in a milkshake. I've never had that before ever.
Dude,
Have you had peaches and cream?
Yes.
I assume it's very similar. Peach goes very well with vanilla.
Listen to this description, Alex. This is how they hand spun the old-fashioned way. This refreshing milkshake features Chick-fil-A ice cream, real peaches, topped off with whipped cream and one crucial cherry. Crucial seems like an odd word to use there, but yeah, crucial cherry.
Well, a milkshake traditionally with America as well has a cherry, like has to have that fake, I can't remember the name of it, but the fake cherry on top.
Yeah,
it has to have
that candied pitless cherry.
What they used to do in the 50s when they had like root beer floats at every stand you would go to. But the number one milkshake in the country is Shake and Shack, black and white. Vanilla.
Black and white shake's actually quite decent.
Dude, Shake Shack's best is one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life from any fast food restaurant.
I need to find a Shake Shack at some point. I don't think they're in this part of the country.
I don't think they're in my country.
No. Probably not.
Yeah.
I will say, I finally got to try In-N-Out at one point. And
because you're much more southern now. Because they're not in the northern part of America, are they?
What? What is that?
In-N-Out. I think In-N-Out's only primarily southern.
They're all West Coast.
Yeah, that's California.
West Coast.
Okay. Yeah, because people freak out in the battle versus Five Guys and In-N-Out. They're not even on the same caliber. It's just for $4 you get a damn good meal at In-N-Out versus Five Guys. You're going to be dropping $8 just on a single burger.
Oh, I have actually had Johnny Rockets before. And
I have been to Johnny Rockets, and I don't know what to make of it. It's all right, but also it's the theme of being a 50s restaurant.
It's very diner style.
Yeah, but also it's like they go really authentic, like the straw holders, for example. At least last time I was there, it's like I feel like they're going to be really racist and like.
Okay.
Well,
I think that about wraps it up. Chris is inebriated and has a foot in his hand.
Actually, Alex.
No.
Is that the foot?
I'm sorry that you had to endure this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, one of my issues with liquor is that there's like a delay between drinking it and getting drunk.
Chris, shut up a second. So just a quick announcement. We'll be featuring a special guest next week. So stay tuned for this that upcoming episode.
Oh, who's the guest?
You will find out next week.